Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Kline, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devan Kline.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
All right, Burn Nation, welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I am your host and co-founder, Devan Kline, and I'm here with a very special guest for a focus meeting episode today. This is Lee Rice, everybody, a great friend of mine, OG member since back in, fall of 2012?
Yep, August 2012.
August 2012. April 19th, 2012 was the very first camp in a parking lot. And you came shortly after that.
Yes.
Shortly after that.
Had good friends, Tracy and Kathy, and met a few others, and everyone was talking about this new guy in town and this new workout, and they loved it. So I had to give it a try.
Yeah, shout out to Tracy and Kathy, both franchise partners and former franchise partners. And yeah, I remember doing an article. It was like ex-professional baseball player helps train local moms, and boom, the whole parking lot gymnastics studio just like flooded from that. And I think you were part of that. And it was such a pleasure getting to train you and getting to know you. You actually surprised me with one of the original shirts.
Yes.
The original Burn Bootcamp shirts. Your workout is our warm-up. Let me see that real quick. Your workout is our warm-up. The original shirt. I was selling these out of the, think about this, the trunk of my car in a parking lot at 5:30 a.m. We must look like we were doing like drug deals or something. But we weren't. We were slanging t-shirts. Your workout is my warm-up. And it says Charlotte's Fit Community of Moms on the front. Because that's what we thought we were going to be at first. We wanted to just have our local community and a gym for our local community here in Charlotte, create a fit community of moms that had Child Watch. And Lee, you were a part of that original idea.
Yeah.
So thank you. Look where we are now.
I know. Well, it's been a great journey.
I want to hear your journey. I know it well. And I know we're sitting here for a focus meeting today, and we're going to help you get to the next level. And I know I'm always challenged when an OG, we call OG members, by the way, those who started in the parking lot. Every gym has their parking lot days. When we first open in a new community, we still do parking lot pop-up workouts as a homage to the old school days. And so if you're an OG, make some noise, because Lee is the OG of the OGs here in Huntersville, North Carolina. So why don't you take us back, Lee, and just share your journey before we get into, where you're at today and what we're going to discuss here.
Yeah. So I was an athlete growing up, a swimmer, and then got kind of burned out on swimming right around high school. So did softball and basketball in high school. Two-day workouts was a lot, and the pool wasn't nearby. So anyway, but did that, went to college, dabbled with the athletic department at Wake Forest and friends, kept up with the old swim coach. I took every class. My dad will tell you I have a minor in water from Wake Forest. I took every class, even scuba diving.
Oh, you're in all the water classes?
Yeah, but he took us to the side, those of us that had swim backgrounds, and just basically he missed coaching. Wake Forest didn't have a team anymore, but he would just work us out. So,
okay.
So I kind of had this like college coach without any meets or any competitions. But anyway, so just enjoyed those years. Came back home after and was a member at the Y, or member at the Birkdale Fitness Center. For those of us that live up here in Huntersville, that was the big place up here. And would go every morning, just about, started teaching. And then right around, I guess I was about 24, I got diagnosed with hypothyroidism. And the weight just came on and came on. Every woman in my family has thyroid problems. So it was I kind of knew what was going on. But I took a little journey there. It's very frustrating. when your body just changes suddenly. Was training for, I think I've heard another person on a podcast saying, was getting ready to get married, training or preparing for my wedding, and I was gaining weight. Like every bride's trying to lose weight, and I'm gaining, weight slowly, but I'm training for a marathon at the same time. So nothing made sense. So I was very frustrated. Anyway, and then just kind of have a rocky start. Would do some group classes, would do some personal training, just trying to mix. Finally got my medicine kind of regulated. Lost a little bit, but just still never really enjoyed working out. Like I enjoyed the workout, but I didn't have like this desire to get up every morning necessarily. And then, like I said, there were some people talking about it around a pool one day, and that they were loving this new workout that they were doing, and that they were in the gymnastics center, and there was a nice floor, the gymnastics floor, and I should come try it. And I came in August, and I very rarely have missed. I'm not gonna say I've been perfect by any means, but I at least get 3 to 4 days in a week, and definitely times when I've been hardcore all 6 days. But
yeah, you have been remarkably consistent over what's now more than a decade.
mm-hmm.
Wow. And so, like, I know there's so many people that are going to listen to this that want that, right? They've never necessarily loved working out. Most people have some type of movement background, whether it be swimming or college exercise or something like that, but it doesn't necessarily stick. And to hear that, you found burn and 10 years plus later, you're still going, still consistent is a testament, because, we sometimes find that thing that we like and then fear that we're going to fall out of love with it. And you've continued to find ways to fall in love with it. How have you done that?
I think naturally, I've been here as it's grown. So I've seen some of the changes. I love when certain things come back. We laughed a couple months ago when the square came back and we were running the square.
Oh, yeah.
In one of the workouts, it was like, bring the square back, because we used to do a lot of like square, shuffle, sprint, and then there'd
we
be
got to do
people,
more of that.
I know, right? And then there'd be an exercise in the middle, so,
yeah.
And I just remember, so it's kind of naturally changed, but even as it's been the same, so to speak, the past couple of years, it really isn't, I love how the protocol changes week to week. Although 2 weeks ago, I thought Matt was going to kill our arms. I was like, wanted to have a one-on-one discussion with him. But at the same time, like I said, it's a challenge, right? There's always a goal. There's always something new. And then for me, it's just, you have to set your own goals. Any of us, even if you're not athletic, you probably have goal setting in your background some way. And so those change over time. I'm almost 50, so like I'm not doing the same thing that I was doing when I was 30, but that's okay. So I've had to like just set like, this is my goal, but like I love the monthly challenge right now. I did, well this morning. And so now I'm like, can't wait to do it again next week. Right. So there's always something that you guys put out for us as well to keep us inspired.
So what are your goals? Speaking of that, as of late, you've mentioned they've ebbed and flowed, and you've had probably some short-term goals, some long-term goals, maybe some somewhere in the middle. Maybe talk a little bit about that and how you tend to set goals and what works for you and where you're at currently.
So I think, like a lot of us that I've seen, I don't want to speak for everyone, all the Burn Nation, but, we come in to this. So overall, I've lost at least 45 pounds at some point in my journey from where I started. But, I've put back on 15 to 20 at times, and that's just life. Gone through a divorce. When you move schools, it's real different when you're at an elementary school versus when you're at a high school. So now being back at high school, my days are just long sometimes, and preparing. So trying to get that back down, but it's not really about the number as much as it is feeling better. Just carrying the extra weight, you can just tell, like I've just had that feeling of how good it felt to not have that extra weight. So, when you pick up a 15 pounds, sometimes I'm like, this is what I got to get off. Right. So, it's nutrition. We've talked a lot about nutrition, and not just with you. I can go back to Daniel. I used to drink a sweet tea from Chick-fil-A every morning. They knew me as 60-40 at the Huntersville Chick-fil-A. And it was $1.91. And so I can just remember that. And I just remember him looking at me and, talking about this Southern sweet tea, right? Like that's what we were bred on. And
I was not ready for that when I moved down here from being from Michigan, how big sweet tea was.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a love language for some people,
Yeah.
And so I've never been a coffee drinker, but I've always had a morning drink. So trying to figure out like what that is. So, it's been Coke at times. So got off soda, but then it was tea. And I just remember Daniel like having this moment with me, and I was like, I think he had just come here from East Carolina. So it was like, I was like, wow, this 21-year-old just put it right in perspective for me. And so coming off, the sweet tea and different things. So figuring out, like, I know a lot of stuff nutrition, but I need to just figure out how to simplify it, how to make it is easy. Cause I do feel like in some ways you get thrown a lot of information, not just from you guys, but the world. And so trying to figure out like what exactly does work. And then where, just like small things. I mean, I definitely have pushed back to like 20s and would like to get back up to the 25s in some of my exercises. Like you said, if you can pick up 20s, you can pick up 25s. I think I've heard that a few times in life.
Yeah.
Right. So like
sure.
just saying like, okay, Lee, walk past the 20s and move on down to the 25s without a trainer telling you to do that.
So when you say simplify, that's an interesting word, because like knowing what to do is one thing and having the knowledge is said to be powerful, but is it really? Because isn't the power in the execution of the knowledge, right? So you have all this information. If there's no practical execution on it, then what good's it going to do? And if things are too complex, right, then that's the center of all confusion. And then what are we supposed to do, right? There's complexity all around us, which feels, when you translate that emotionally, like chaos. And so there's like this emotional chaos because of this complexity. And I should eat good, and I know I should eat good, but I can't because this thing is going on and I didn't. And there's like all these crosswinds and tailwinds and headwinds, confusing what should really be done. And I think that's simplifying, right? So how do we do that? What is complex for you? What is chaotic? Am I taking it too far when I say that it manifests emotionally sometimes, the chaos, and how, describe complexity so that we can work towards simplification.
I think, there's different things. So intermittent fasting, I've had different advice from different people about that. So I don't know if there's even timing. And I don't know the science behind this, so I might be wrong. You could correct me. From when I was 20 versus now that I'm almost 50, is there a difference in timing, how we should eat, what we should eat? As far as the what, I think just, going back to just keeping it as simple and whole is nice. But then there's the life thing of, you're on a budget. How do you do this financially and feed your kids as well? Not saying that they shouldn't be eating the whole food, but, definitely making sure that it's enough for them. And then also the supplements and how to get the most in, because there's a lot of things I really like that I could do, but I don't know. I get to this point where I'm like, oh, I can't do that, with this kind of meat, but I can come down to this one, and can I make it this way? So sometimes learning the little tricks, because it's not necessarily about the like what I want to. It's the other factors, the financial or the timing. I do not like to cook. I said that a couple of times. I don't enjoy. Back in the day, I remember Morgan would do these things in kitchens, and I always just felt like she never made me feel this way, but I would, insecurity. I would just be like, do I know how to chop the onions as well as everybody else? Like, right. Is there a certain art to this, or how to do certain things? Because I want the flavor like everybody else. I don't want to, just keep. An egg is boring. Right. You can eat so many eggs, but like you want to make it taste good. So just figuring it. So that's the complexity, I guess, is trying to figure out how to get things you like, you can afford, and that you'll enjoy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm processing all of that because it's more about complexity of information and how to use it rather than complexity of like, not knowing what to do or not having enough information. So I think what we can do is just open up a conversation around how to take info and distill it down. Because, if you have complexity is confusion. So if you have all this information and you're like looking in all these different directions on what to do, it's going to get confusing. The overload of information. When have you felt your best?
Definitely 2017. I can remember having a major get yourself together moment.
Okay. Explain that, will you?
I think just you guys were big on like the whole food idea, how much processed food was out there, how much you don't realize that you're eating, with going fast in life, right? Like you guys were also giving us tips because you were traveling a lot. Like you were opening tons of, locations and different things. So it was like, how do I go to the airport? And so for me, that's how do I work a game tonight? Or I get stuck at school, so preparing that something might happen and I might be stuck at work, right? And so if I'm not going to get there, but if I have the snacks there, then I don't go get the hamburger or the nachos from the concession stand, right? Like I'll have my food that's correct. So something I just really kept things prepared. I kept things simple. I had a good friend at the time too, Ashley Irwin, who is an amazing cook. And so she was also kind of my accountability. We would do some Sunday afternoons, like, hey, let's just plan out some meals. And she taught me a few things, just how to make something quick or how to add this, introduce me to a new spice. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I'm gonna be honest, for a lot of people, like if you really don't like the kitchen, like you just don't know what spice can add a ton of flavor. Because outside of like cinnamon, which was normally making cinnamon toast. My favorite, right. Like pepper, salt, like I don't have a mom that used a ton of spices and stuff. So like learning that as well.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you've utilized the information that's out there in the past to at some point nail the physical side of it, like the protein intake, the meal planning, just all the physical, practical things. At some point you've looked at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm mastering this right now in the moment, right? Okay, so that's there, and you already know how to, you already have the feeling, the emotional connection to how that feels when you do those things. How does it feel when you don't?
Sluggish, defeating,
Toward what? Like, so sluggish and defeating, those are the feelings that you have, but toward what? Energy? Do you how's that manifesting itself?
So I think two ways. Energy in the gym. There's definitely, when you're not eating well, and you've done a couple of podcasts with the alcohol intake. I definitely have reduced that a lot. But just anytime you're off, you come in and you're not 100%, and you know that. And you've done that since you were a kid as well. Any of us. If you're not eating and fueling your body, it's not going to be the same. And then it's a mental fog. Sometimes, when your sugar is high or a lot of processed foods and different things, like I don't even think I concentrate very well at work. I can tell that, as well as, energy. I wouldn't say super irritable. I'm never really super, super irritable, but definitely can tell things bother me more, I guess, when I'm not eating healthy.
So here's an interesting question. And this will be hopefully one you haven't heard of or haven't thought about. Have you ever gone a layer deeper to say, when I do feel sluggish, when I do feel in states of negative emotion, how is that impacting the things negatively that I care about the most?
I think because I give up on me, being fair. I give up on me, so then I'm not ready to be my best, whether that's for my own three, for my students, parents, community, however you want to look at it. I can feel that I'm letting them down, because it takes me, I fight depression like a lot of people. So when it's, kind of that negative self-talk, like, oh, I did it again, like I didn't prepare, I didn't, whatever, being hard on yourself. But so then in turn, I just see it affecting everyone around me, which is heartbreaking for me. I'm a people person.
we're going to go back there because that is exactly where I think the magic is, that more psychological side, because you've manifest all the physical stuff and you've done it. And I've seen you, and you even have your sheets here to like prove. Let me see those real quick.
Yeah.
So these are our focus meeting sheets from over the years. And first entry was 13, January 16th and 13. And last one was June 23rd, 2023. So
there is one this past spring.
There's another sheet out there.
There's one at headquarters. I forgot.
That isn't here yet. But this is an amazing testament to the fact that you've been able to keep up the physical attribute, even if some come and go. But generally speaking, you learn it. It's a part of you. You know it. You know how it feels when you do execute it. So you've got that emotional side, the positive emotion side, but I think oftentimes it's the negative emotion, the things that we want to run away from, that really keep us from even wanting that bad behavior. Like when the bad behavior that we perceive to be bad because it's making us feel sluggish or depressive, and that's then taking away from this promise that we're making to ourselves. And because we are having this behavior now, that therefore we're breaking a promise to ourselves, right? That's puts you in this negative state of emotion. What are we losing because of that? That's really important to zero in on. Like when you say giving up on me, I know that's just a thought. I know that's not you. That's just a thought you might have, because it's a thought that we all have, whether sometimes you've believed it more than other people have. Yeah. But that's what I want to uncover and dive deeper on is what are the things in your life that you refuse to give up? And it's usually has something to do with the people you mentioned, the community. You got to go deeper though, because that's too wide, right? Like the community, the school. I mean, you're a principal, right? It's like you have a whole community you have to look after. Right. And but it goes deeper even than that. And this is, in business, we call it the root cause analysis. When you go, but why? But why? But why? Until you can't go deeper anymore. And then that person or those set of people that you might lose love from because of the behavior all of a sudden goes away, because you refuse on your life and on everything to lose love from those people. And it makes you actually happy that the behavior in this case, I'm exaggerating all of this, by the way, but in this case, the inability to adhere to the food disciplines that that you want to adhere to over the long term, right? That behavior then elicits this negative state, then elicits the loss of love from the people that you love the most in life. We don't do that as humans. We refuse to, if we connect it the right way, we refuse to then go off that blueprint. And a lot of people just never connect it. They're never able to go back and find it. So as I explain that to you, do you follow the pathway? And is it in your head? Do you go somewhere? Is there a person in your life that you love the most that might be disappointed in you outside of yourself? Or at least your perception of their disappointment outside of yourself when those behaviors happen?
I think it's definitely your own children, right? Like, I mean, that is a motivating factor, because you want better for them than what you've had or you've done. I've got 3 very different children. So I've got one athletic, super trim, 15-year-old, and then a daughter. And all of us know the daughter, the self-image, like all the things, right? Like you just want to make sure you're positive. I've even heard Morgan say, like she still struggles, right? You just don't want Cameron to have that, like hear that, or even enter. The world might enter it, but you don't want it to hear it from her mom, right? Like that. And then I have my boy twin that struggles a lot more with the food choices and the weight. I mean, he's at that weird 13 age, he'll shoot up and, but at the same time, he loves crumble cookie, like different things. So trying to figure out how to be there for them so that I'm really, because we know that the young people learn a lot from watching. And that's my biggest thing, is that I want to make sure that they see that this is important And it doesn't have to be miserable. Like, it's not a like, oh, I got to eat carrots or I got to eat, like it shouldn't be that. It should be, wow, this is fueling my body. I think we just heard so many things about food in our lives. And so I just don't want them to have that same relationship with food that a lot of us have had. I want them to see it as fuel and necessary, but not necessarily a way to cope with things or a way, treat every now and then maybe, but not like, we don't get treat just because we had a good day.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be like, there's got to be a real fine line. So I want them to learn that because I feel like I want them to remember that about their mom.
And so what do you want them to see then that they aren't currently seeing?
I think that, preparing, that if you're not prepared, depending on, they have a lot of activities, competition dancer, travel soccer, high school soccer player. So all of us have a lot of activities and different things going. And so I want them to see that you have to be prepared. That's a life lesson anyway, right? Like if you have a goal or just taking care of you, you don't think about it much when you're 13 and 15, but they do need to understand that you've got to take care of your body, that it could be taken from you in any second. And so what you've got right now, you have to appreciate that and take care of it. There's a spiritual side. I know you and I've talked about this some. I am firm in my Christian beliefs. So, when they say that, the body is a temple, that is a gift from God. And I say that sometimes teasingly when we're running building laps. I'm like, yes, I am so grateful that I can run this building lap. And I'm like, deep down, I'm like, but I wish we weren't.
This gift from God sure hurts on the left side over here.
But at the same time, I think if that got stripped from me tomorrow,
yes, that
would devastate me. And so I've got to be good to my body, right? Because it is a gift, no matter where you see that gift from. That you've got to take care of it. So I need them to see that. I need them to understand that, that is important and that it affects everything in their lives from there.
So the two things that I heard you say that you don't have that you would want them to see were preparation and essentially moving your body. But don't you, number two doesn't seem to be something that you in this moment are earning for, because you've been 10 plus years pretty consistently moving your body. So is it fair to say that we can take that one
Check.
off of they currently see that already? And
yes, they're ready. They're ready to come with me. The twins want to join.
they value, you've been doing this their entire lives, essentially. Right. Since they can remember. You would have to think that this is ingrained in them, your positive, optimistic attitude around exercise, and non-obsessive, right? Like you've been consistent, but you've never been the type of person to look into maybe we went here and there to look into the macros and little things like that, because you've tried a lot of things, but you're never one to obsess over it. So you've had a very healthy relationship with your body. So is it fair to say that they see you working, Mom?
Yeah.
Okay. But preparation is something that you're like, okay, I got to get better here.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it is definitely easy. The Kraft mac and cheese box is easy for all of us. And
Yeah.
we have to, but I know it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, the stopping for fast food. How to be a working mom and feed your kids is huge, because if it's around me, this I do know, if it is around me, I can have some willpower, but I will probably take a bite. Maybe not eat a bowl, but I realize as I'm cooking or I'm whatever that I taste. But that counts. It goes in, right? And so it's got to be prepping them also with healthy choices.
So, but it starts with prepping you, right? And so you're saying, okay, I got this body thing down. I'm moving my body. They see me moving my body. I'm getting stronger. I'm talking about it. Okay, but I need to prepare, because if I don't prepare in this way, then that could potentially manifest in their lives into something more serious, and that creates a level maybe of fear or anxiety, or how would you describe the emotion of in your head when you're just by yourself, let's just use harsh terms because it's easier to just use the harsh terms to get right to the point. If you were to say, how does the lack of preparation manifest physically into their lives, and how does that make you feel when that happens?
I mean, failure comes first. I mean, that's
What emotion do you associate with that?
With a failure. Is that what you're saying? Like, what's the?
Yeah.
Definitely sadness. Because you want more. I get angry at times. And this goes even to being at lunch at the high school or when kids ask me, because it's more about my 3, but I will say there's also, I realize that I can and have a purpose in life to inspire young people too. And that's across the board. It's not just females, it's also males. I'm definitely what they call the athletic administrator, but but even my kids in the arts, I mean, being in the band is hard. They need good energy. I mean, it doesn't matter what they're doing. And so I often have a chance to talk about, like, the kids will ask, like, what are you drinking, Miss Rice? Or what are you, whatever. And that's an open door for me. And so when it is French fries, there's not much of a discussion right there. I took the easy way out. Someone was stopping by Chick-fil-A on the way back from a meeting and I didn't have lunch. So yeah, pick me up I'll say grilled chicken nugget meal, but then it's the French fries too, or different things. So I get angry at myself sometimes. And then sad because, I mean, I've had that sadness of the body image and all that. So that really does come into watching my youngest son shrug his shoulders and not hold himself strong because he's, a little overweight. So wearing a sweatshirt, I did that. I can remember in 3rd grade for numerous reasons. But I would wear big shirts and, so it's just watching that and knowing that he can't look at me and say, like, Mom, I'm not confident, like I don't want to, I'm hiding my body. But I know that at 12 years old, he was hiding his body from friends. And that makes me sad.
In Stop Starting Over, I wrote a chapter on this. I don't know if you remember it, but we talked about projecting pain. So that, I think you just hit the nail on the head because what we're trying to do here is connect the physical to the psychological, right? Because if you can get a perspective on how to change a physical behavior, oftentimes the perspective makes the behavior change easy. If you just try to make the behavior change without a shift in perspective, that's where you have to use willpower. And we all know that willpower has a limited battery charge.
Yes.
Right. I also wrote Stop Starting Over, like the willpower test. Like, okay, yes. If you're somebody that wants to use their willpower, put a big tasty plate of your favorite dessert in the middle of a table in the middle of a room and just walk around it all day and, for like 3 straight days and see if that thing isn't gone and see how much willpower you have at the end of the day. But the sadness, right, that negative emotion can be very useful if we have the perspective that it's useful. If we don't want to shy away from it because, it's sadness, and like, I don't want to feel sadness. But if we reverse engineer the sadness and we can connect that back to your meal plan preparation, right, we can say, okay, now there's a link to an emotional charge here that's really going to motivate me if I water the seed that we're planting today, if I write this down and I remember it and I use the new perspective as a tool that I was given or that I found, right? The sadness from, maybe, projecting out what that might look like if you didn't meal plan. Like, think about that for a minute. Okay, let's just use the 12-year-old that you gave an example of, but it could be any of your kids, but that was a great example. If you didn't meal prep, think about that for a minute. You just said, screw it. I'm never going to meal prep. I'm just giving up on this whole thing. The giving up on me thing, right? I'm just going to give into that. And then your son watches you do that. How does his behavior manifest over the next decade? And if you were to imagine that being the worst possible scenario, where would that end up?
It's kind of scary to think because, and like, I've been around so many teenagers. So, I mean, I could be super dramatic about this, but I mean, because this is personal, this isn't just like, there's a kid behind every pain when I say these kind of things. But when, you have that, you get like the sugar addiction, you eat all this kind of thing. And then you don't have that self-confidence. That's where the drug usage can come in. Because there's a rush, just like a sugar rush, whatever drugs, you want to talk to. So I fear not having that good plan and talk about like, this is good for your body and this is, we're going to take care of it kind of thing, and being open and honest about it. When you just let kids do whatever they want, it can start off with just addiction to Sour Patch gummies, but then, it can be something else very, very quickly because they don't have the self-confidence. They don't feel good about themselves. They don't get involved. They withdraw different things. And then they want an escape, which is what every addiction is, right? Is something like you say, you're running from something, so you escape into that. So that could be kind of the dramatic thing, but at the same time, like I said, that's a very real story.
You've seen it a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, probably more common than people actually realize when you've been in the school systems for your whole career and seeing hundreds of kids every year kind of graduate into the next level, and you follow them. I'm sure you've seen that, and it's more.
And I've had a unique perspective in a couple of things. Not everyone's had this, but I've been a lot of times at a middle school or an elementary, and then been back with the kids in high school. So, about the time I was joining, I had been at Bailey Middle School and then Huff High School. And like the kids were like, "Are you coming to college with us?" I was like, "No, we're done. We're done on this." It's happened in Lincoln County too, a little bit. So these kids are people. So like I've seen, like I said, the choices are like the giving up and not encouraging them with good behavior and equipping them with the strong tools. That's what we all need. We need tools, and we need open discussions about it, right? Because no one really talked to me about the sweet tea and the fried, country fried steak and mashed potatoes. They just showed up, right? Like it was celebrations were always very heavy driven with foods that are not healthy in any way, shape, or form, right? So we're shifting, but people don't want to talk about, it's like, it's the negative thing of like, oh yeah, it doesn't taste as good as country fried steak, well, it can though, and it does. It's just got to be your mindset has to completely be open. And if we're not teaching the kids that, if we just kind of hope that they see it in us and we don't talk about it, then they don't know. Again, it's all coming to them, but they don't know how to like categorize it and save it for their tools to use down the road. I worry that he'll maybe just think that the easy way is just all he's worth, right? Like it's not worth trying to do all this. Like I don't really deserve this, right? Like I'll just eat whatever, like the bag of chips or the, whatever, because I don't deserve for anyone to care about me this much.
You start to see how the projection of that pain and the fear that comes from it can be really useful, because what you're starting to do is develop. And I think you already have it because it's pre-developed. You've been thinking about this, I think, quite a bit. You have a pre-developed connection there between your behavior today on prepping your meals specifically and the future of the youth around you, and specifically your son. And the more you can take that perspective that you're developing and turn that into a belief, and a belief can be categorized as like an if-then statement, right? Like if this happens, then this will happen. And it's more certain and it's cemented. And then that becomes what you recite, and that we all get conditioned when we're young to recite whatever our parents wanted us to recite because they didn't know it. It was auto-suggestion. We just said it. They said it all the time. So we picked it up and we started saying it all the time. It's just introducing a belief on a piece of paper and rereading and rereading and rereading and rereading and rereading until it's there. That it's as simple as that. It really is. But the belief that you're writing down has to be the correct one that's solving the problem. And so we can try to develop that. And so I might ask you, what belief do you think that you could develop if you took those two seemingly non-symbiotic things and you put them together to make them symbiotic? What belief would do that? Like, if I don't meal prep, then the worst possible scenario will happen.
And then make it a positive one also, or?
It doesn't have to be positive. Remember, the outcome is to get you to have the behavior of,
well, then is that if
right?
I don't meal prep, then my children will develop possible horrible habits.
That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do it now because it can be more personal than putting it on a podcast. But that's the exact place you should start, at the top of a piece of paper, and give yourself an hour and a half with no phones and no kids and no anything. Like if you're fed up with, if you're to the point where like it's personally painful for you to keep not preparing, ending up in situations where you're not prepared for food, and then look around and you're prepared and killing it in all the other areas, and you're like, wait, what are you doing? Like, how come you can't master this one thing? Then you'll spend 90 minutes if the pain is built up for you. Because 90 minutes out of your life is a long time. But to sit there with a piece of paper and a pen for 90 minutes, write what you just said at the top as the pre-developed belief, and then start to paint that picture. Like, there's a study, I'm going to choke on where it came from, but it talked about a study of thousands of people who were recalling their memories versus like a historic timeline of their life that was rooted in like data and multiple reference points and things like that. And 50% of the people had a belief of their past that wasn't true with the logic that was actually their past, from their birth certificate to their home addresses to all their things. 50% of people were actually making up who they used to be and manufacturing a belief in their head that was absolutely wrong. Right. So it's the power of us being able to persuade ourselves, manipulate ourselves psychologically. I know that kind of sounds like a bad word, but that's what you're doing. You're for a positive intent, right? For a positive outcome that's going to make your life better, your kid's life, the community around you, everybody's life, even if it's just a little bit better, even if it's just 1% better.
1% is better than none.
That's right. And you're gonna definitely go to great lengths to do that, and it will be hard. But to develop that belief, you can start it now, and it will be work. It'll be like we planted a seed today, and then you water it over and over. Same thing goes with goals. Same thing goes. All this stuff that we're talking about on focus meetings, it all goes back to it's so predictable, because we're all predictable. We're human beings. If you sat down and roles were reversed, you're going to talk to me about something that I'm struggling with, and you're going to ask the right questions, and you're going to find out that it's because my son or my daughter or my other son or Morgan or all four, but you're going to find out that it's because of their loss or gain of love. That's how we're all motivated, and it all boils down back to that. And then you can sprinkle the Burn Bootcamp community on it for me. You could start with my franchise partners. You could tell me all the things, all the love that I'm going to lose from them if I don't change this one behavior. And then, when I lose love from them or trust from them, how that trickles down to the trainers and their teams and their families, and then you, and then your like you could stack it so high for me that there's so much responsibility on my shoulders that, like, how dare you do something that would be, jeopardizing all of that? Like, how dare you, right? Is almost the mentality once you stack up enough evidence that that's like a right decision. So,
well, and I think, you're exactly right. And this is a random thought. Sorry. A little ADHD squirrel, maybe.
Squirrel.
but I think you just never know when you have that 1 second when someone will come up to you and tell you, and you're like, you don't even remember it, or you do remember it, and it was so life-changing for both of you, right? Like, I can, just even the other day, it's funny, Kathy Bullock, one of the great ambassadors at headquarters, she made the comment to me, and she was like, I remember the first time you told me to pick up 30s. I'm like, I couldn't tell you what year that was. I can't tell you if we were in this location or the new location. I can't tell you anything about it, but like, she remembers that, right? Like, yep. And so what if I didn't say that to her that day? You just never know. So you have to understand that every decision, especially when you're in a position, for anybody, but I think especially for you and I and people that have greater communities behind you, for those of us that are teachers, there's thousands of kids, there's parents, there's community members for you, there's the franchise partners and, trainers and everyone. And you just, to slip, we're not trying to set up perfection, but you just never know when that one thing is going to just all of a sudden change somebody. And so why do I not want to give that my best, right? Because that's what I do. Like, that's very important to me. And that's almost the biggest compliment anyone can give me, right? Like, Kathy didn't know that the other day, right? Like, she was just reminiscent or something. But, like, for me, that's like, wow. Like, I do want to be people's cheerleaders, and I do want to be, but like, that just made my day, right? Like, and then it makes me want to keep pushing myself and then pushing other people around me, and keep doing that. So we have to keep that in perspective. Like, you think sometimes just, you never know when you're impacting people, but when you're in a people business like we are, people will throw you for a loop with something that they remember that you said or that you did. And you're just like, I don't remember, what we were doing that day.
Yeah. We've gone on the journey of self-actualization together throughout the years, and it's a beautiful thing, because it's such a complex array of different circumstances, and every day is new and every month is new and every year is new. And isn't it amazing though what happens when you consistently for a decade, as you have so documented here in front of us, when you consistently pull up and just work on yourself, right? You're like one of the most dedicated people with focus meetings. We used to have one almost every month without missing, and that's it. Like, that's it. That's the work, right? And even if you're, we both started off pretty clunky. When I first started focus meetings, I didn't know how to help anybody. I didn't know half of the things I'm talking about, not even like a quarter of it, but we never pretended that we did. And, it was like, I'd go figure something out, and, we'd
it's still the accountability.
Patch together a game.
I mean, we all need that accountability, right? Like, I mean, that's, you can't inspect, you have to inspect what you expect. That's always, what gets said in my profession. So I can tell teachers I want them to do this, but if I don't show up, I don't really know if they're doing it. And if they're doing it correctly, that's not always I got you. That's let me help coach you if you don't know how to do it. Or if you're nailing it, let me praise you and encourage you, whatever. And so same thing as just, I totally encourage Burn Nation. I know you hear it a lot, but the focus meetings, and if you're at a location, find the person. I mean, there's definitely people that you connect with differently. So sometimes you just have to do the one that's at that time. But if you don't click, try someone else, or, try through everyone until you find that person that really is going to challenge you, and also hold you accountable, and then set it on the calendar. That's just what I had to do. Like, it was I don't know, I think it was the 15th or something, around the 16th, somewhere around the 16th of every month, I mean, it was at the midway point. I knew it was time for a focus meeting, whether that was good or bad, whether I was going to be excited. I mean, for a long time it was exciting. Right. And it was exciting, not just about weight. I love you need the waist and the arms and the legs. Like, you need those different things. We all have areas that we want to work on. But it'll surprise you when all of a sudden you're like, wait, I lost that in my waist. Like, I was worried about my arms, or I'm worried about, I'm trying to, and then you realize that you've gone down somewhere else. And that little positive win of the day just makes you say, I can't wait for tomorrow.
Right.
Right. Like, right. And so I put it on the calendar. That's all I can tell you is put it on the calendar, stick to it for a few months, find the right person. You are totally worth it to do it for yourself.
That's beautiful. The responsibility piece we're talking about of, your every action, my every action, having a big ripple effect in our communities. A lot of people, that type of responsibility is crushing. And I just wanted to say that it doesn't start there. At first it starts with the responsibility of you. Like, when you first started Burn, let's just put it at that moment in time, was a big step in terms of your personal journey, right? Like, your personal responsibility, like you connecting back with you first, right? And then you connect, and then you go through a divorce, right?
Yeah.
that connection wasn't there. You took care of the immediate intimate connection, whatever needed to happen with that immediate intimate connection, that was next, right? And then it's your greater family, and then it's your job, and then it's maybe your community, and then it's your state or whatever. I think so many people start at like, I need to take over the world, when I haven't reconciled me with me yet, or me with the past versions of myself, or me then with my partner, or me with my brother or my sister, without having, so many people try to take on responsibility. That's what we mean when we say, oh, I have this crushing responsibility. And you're to the point where you've gone through those layers. I'm to the point where we've gone through these layers. And now what we're trying to do, as we get wider and wider and wider and wider with our reach and our influence, the tweaks become more minute. They become less obvious than they used to be when we were trying to connect with ourselves and figure out, why do I feel this depressive way? And so I just wanted to say that, because we talked a lot about the psychological nature of the responsibility, and we were coming from the lens of, taking over the world. I just think it's important that I say, clean your car out before you start trying to, save the world. So all the physical things. We talked about the psychological thing. Okay, that's just the exercise where you sit down for 90 minutes and you write the belief at the top of a piece of paper. If I don't change this habit of meal planning, then the worst possible scenario for my children is likely at some X percentage. Then you write on that and make that, and then you come out the other side of it with a very specific, you almost believe it already, type of realistic scenario. And then you read it, recite it every single day. You're breaking the neurological connection. The synapses in your brain are going to go from, me never wanting to say that out loud because that's a terrible thing to say about my kids, to me connecting that with something that's immediate in my everyday life. And as soon as you think meal prep, you'll think, oh,
yep,
I got to do this because that feels real to me. But you got to feel it, people. You got to feel it. And I do this exercise all the time. You can't just think about it. You got to feel it. Okay, so on the physical side, to get you jump started, what's a couple things that you think can kickstart you, that you've used in the past to get back on the meal prep train?
I think an accountability partner. I think when I've done really well, there's been another person.
You got your phone with you?
Over there.
Who was it? Who was it that you said was your old accountability partner?
Ashley Irwin.
Where's she at?
She is back at Denver, I think.
Oh, okay. Cool. Sounds good. Maybe we'll text her. What do you think? Yeah. Do you have a neighbor that's into this?
Just trying to think. I think I would love every now and then to have someone. Like I said, my friend Ashley Irwin is an amazing cook. She works in a catering business, all kinds of things. So that was helpful. But I think it's just also knowing, like you have to text someone and say, like, did you meal prep this week? What did you do? And everyone has different. This is nothing against anyone that's a stay-at-home mom or anything like that, but it's just when you're stay-at-home, like the food is in your house, right? So like when you're working, the food is not, it has to be well more prepared. So just finding another working mom to say, okay, what'd you do? Or what kind of snack? As the seasons change, like the food changes, right? Like, so what's a good summer snack or summer things that we could do? So I think between the two, I think occasionally having someone to actually meal prep with, just because I need ideas. I loved those days when Morgan did the thing. I don't know what the 10 recipes are in the new book. I'm excited.
Oh, there's 50. Oh, and
is it 50?
Yeah, there's 50, and they're all right
workouts.
Up your alley.
Okay.
They're all right up your alley because you can make them in 10 minutes or less.
Okay. So that's what I need.
It's like quick, easy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so having that, like,
we teach how to do all the meal prep, all the same thing you learned back in the day when Morgan was doing it. It hasn't changed.
But Morgan, come back. Come back to my house. No, I'm just kidding. But then also just that person that, will say to you and hold you accountable. I think making that connection, that's part of the same thing that happens in the gym. When I look at the story throughout the years, there's normally a person that was also on the journey with me. And it was maybe it was at camp, maybe it wasn't always a text or a phone call, but maybe it was just at camp. What'd you eat yesterday? Like you said, the lose it. tracking, tracking the food.
Do you have a good relationship with that?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I have a lot of my recipes in there, so it's nice when it, just comes up. Makes it very easy. But, making sure that you're honest about it too, right? Like, if you eat that whatever walking through the staff workroom, or you eat that, Oreo because your kids had, a plate of Oreos out, that you put that Oreo on there, just because it wasn't on your plan. You got to be honest with yourself about what goes in. So that, and then.
Are you doing focus meetings right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then trying to see, I think with the grocery store, just educating myself a little bit more. And this is just taking time to figure out what is going to be the best economically sound way to shop, to make as many of these recipes or different things. I don't go just where I live. I don't really have a Costco, Sam's, like any of those really close. But you do learn your area. We have Aldi's around here, and there's some great things you can get there, wicked cheap. And then other places, every grocery store. So that sounds, but I'm worth it. I'm worth it to go to 2 grocery stores or 3 grocery stores on a weekend to get everything that I need. And if I still need to save $20, I mean, that's a lot when you're a single income family, trying to figure it out. Like that is a big part, but you've got to sit down and plan that out. So taking the time to figure out, these are going to be my recipes. What's the best way I can bulk shop, but also not cheat myself. If I need to go this place or I need to do this, if I'm going to buy the grass-fed beef, then this is what I'm going to buy it, and this is what I'm going to do. And I might give up the cashews because they're not as, or the almonds or something, you know what I mean? Like but making those decisions. But if you don't take time and think about it, when you're in the store, is a horrible time to do it.
Yeah. Got to prepare.
Yeah.
So your preparation seems okay. So this is it. Like this is the next, and I think we should just focus on this because this is one of the, although it's easy for me to say this, this is one of the more, not easier, but structured ways to do things, right? There's a lot of guesswork you can just take out of it. The psychological work, that's the hard stuff. That's like the answers are actually already inside of you and you've got to go find them versus like having a friend to meal prep with or using an external app. It's nothing about the physical external tools, right? It's all about 90% going inward and working on the psychological piece of it. But physically, I think what would help us is really 3 things to kind of get some momentum going. I think on your own, have some self accountability, you versus you. You can text these to me if you'd like some extra accountability. But just go back into Lose It. Just log 7 days, knowing that you are going to put everything that you eat on there for 7 days, and don't wait for that. Just go ahead and start doing that for 7 days. You could probably wake up tomorrow morning and start fresh 7, or go back and realize what you've eaten today and start a fresh 7. Send that to me. Let's just see where you're at. Don't try to change much. Like I don't need you to boil chicken and broccoli and meal prep it and all that stuff. Just what you're normally doing right now. Let's actually see how far we are off. Right? Because we don't want to sit here and pretend that we're way off the baseline. If you're already at 100 grams of protein, I'm not going to sit here and give you 100 grams of protein as a goal. Right. Because you've already proven that you can consistently eat that. So let's do that. And that will give us a baseline platform to say, what adjustments can we make from a nutritional perspective? I think you should text Ashley. You get your phone now?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you should text Ashley right now. And I think you should say, hey, Ashley, I really miss our meal prep dates. I would just like to, wondering if you'd like to schedule one with me. If you want to get together and prep some food, I'm really needing an accountability buddy. And I love your food and I love your ideas. And just schedule one. No big commitments. No, you need to get her on your schedule every Thursday at noon you'll be at school. Thursday at 6 p.m. for a year out. Just get one time down and see if you can't string together another time when you're there. If it goes well and you guys both benefit from it.
All right.
And then the last thing that I think would be important is for you to, you said educate yourself. So we always say an educated member is a retained member. If we educate you and you still want to stay here, that means we have a great program. If you have to stay here because you need it, like we want to educate you. So education is a key, is the last piece. I want you to come up with 7 ways that you can combine proteins to make 100 grams or more. Come up with just write them down on a list of paper. Those are your physical things. And focus meetings, as you know, Lee, are ongoing, and I will look at your 7 days. We will make some nutritional adjustments from there. If we can't get with Ashley, we'll get with someone to meal prep, and you'll be the driver of that because you know how important it is. And then
I'll call Vic out. That'll be second choice.
Vic, yeah, Vic would love to do that. I'm sure she would.
She's always posting in the kitchen.
Yeah, she would love that. And then you have, that's the physical side. Then the psychological side is the exercise.
Okay, so one last question to you. Sorry, this is something I wanted to ask today. So with all of the replenish, creatine, collagen, I've listened, trying to see, but if I could only do one, what would be the number one for a 48-year-old woman?
So out of all the Burn Nutrition supplements, if you could only do one, I would definitely choose the protein powder. Now, if you're saying, I already have the protein powder as a base, I can do one more, it would be creatine.
Okay.
I would put creatine on top of that.
Creatine over collagen?
Yes, because the reason is that you can get collagen from animal protein. Do you eat animal protein? Red meat, chicken.
Yeah, red meat, chicken. Okay, yeah.
So you can get collagen. You do get collagen
in that
from red meat protein.
Okay.
It's in the connective tissue of red meat animal protein. So you're already going to get some there. And creatine is already made in your body too, but the combination of protein and creatine is going to be good. And my recommendation is because once when we're in the gym and we're lifting, what we're doing is we're micro tearing our muscle fiber. Okay. The harder we lift, the deeper we get that burning feeling, the more weight, mass times rep equals volume. So the more volume that we're doing, the
Remember
more we're
the
going to
shirt, learn to love the burn.
Learn to love the burn. That's right.
Bring that back.
I know we do need to do an OG line. That creatine actually helps you push more weight. It helps you micro tear your muscles, get deeper into the muscle bellies, recruit more of your muscle fiber. And then the protein, once consumed post-workout, is the fuel to protein synthesis. That's the repair mechanism for your muscles. So that's my reason that I would have protein and creatine.
Okay. And how soon after do you want to take the creatine? After working out?
The timing questions, I wouldn't be so concerned with the timing questions. Okay. I think the timing questions become important once you have decided you're going to be a professional bodybuilder. And I think timing matters most if you are somebody who is ready to try intermittent fasting. I personally do every day because it fits my lifestyle. And I've gotten over the cognitive barrier to where you go from fog to sharpness, which takes quite some time, maybe 30 days or so. And I intermittent fast because and it's not rigid. Nothing I do is rigid. Mm-hmm. It's just I never have a meal usually before noon. And I'll try to hold out till like 4 if I can. Some days that's hard, especially if I'm doing things that are very physically demanding. But I'm used to it now. And what I found is that when I wake up, my body's used to it. I'm just going. I'm going off my body fat energy. So it's been able to keep my body fat percentage down, which has been a nice thing. But the biggest benefit for me has been clarity.
Clarity.
Yeah, cognitive clarity. So I'm not one of those people, as you know, is going to be like religious about this school of thought or this school of thought or this intermittent fasting or, I've done it all and tried it all and it all works. It just depends on like what season of life that you're in and how much time do you have and, what are the other like life circumstances that are surrounding you. And for me, it just happens to be that we're actually dropping Burn Boot Camp meals, which would be very convenient for you to bypass meal prepping. We're dropping that in the fall. And I created those. We had that idea because we're so darn busy.
Yeah.
We're like, we teach people how to meal prep, but what if we just did it for them?
Yeah.
And so that's coming soon. But, I think it's a good skill to learn. To really learn how to do that, you can get it down to where it takes 30 minutes to an hour a week. You can. It takes a little bit of time to get there. People are going to think I'm crazy saying that, but
No, but it's just like someone asked me this morning, what time do you go? And I was like, 4:45 a.m.
You're crazy.
Yeah, which by the way, when I came back to LKN and it wasn't 5 a.m., it was 4:45. I was like, whoa. I was like, we've done more by 5 o'clock than most people who are still in bed. This is crazy, but I love it. And great trainers in the morning. But, she was asking and I was like, but if I don't, I run the risk of having an issue at school, having a late bus. So I have to do that first workout in the morning, timing wise, to get to school on time and all of that. But so like I've done this in other ways, right? Like, so doing this meal prep thing is just saying like, I can't wait. I know things are going to happen, right? Like if I can make this decision, crazy as it is, to be up at 4:45, and working out, then because I know the curveball could come at any point, and I've got kids with their own activities and whatever, then I need to do this with the meal prep too, so I have that like mindset as well, because it's if you don't think about that when the curveball comes, you're not ready.
Well, the preparation is never going to be 100%. That's where the psychological side comes in, where the desire, the actual emotional desire to say yes to Chick-fil-A, when you could easily just be like, you know what, I'll do the grilled salad.
Yeah.
Right? You could easily do that. So the preparation, you could easily do that when the psychological perspective is there. It's not easy to do that
when you don't have
with just willpower, right? It's really hard to see a box of pizza at work and not eat it when you're super hungry just because you get a little sad sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about, oh, how's this might affecting my kids? No. Make that real. And then the decision is like, oh, that pizza, that's not going to happen. So.
But I think this will just help a ton of members, because I just feel like in watching this for 12 going on 13 years now, the game changes when you add the nutrition part. When Luda and Usher are motivating you on the floor and all that's going on. Yeah. We have a great, you're motivated and you have that time, but it is game changing. I've seen people's bodies super change. And when you say like, hey, what do you do? Like it's always comes down to nutrition. And whether that's a focus meeting or however they get it, so I really, Burn Nation, I'm telling you, it is worth you taking time to figure this out, because it will change every bit. And then the box jumps are easier, and then everything's easier, it's going to help in the gym as well. But that I've just seen so many success stories when the nutrition piece and the real discussions come out about it.
You're so right. And that is the next level. Like once people get in their workouts consistently and they're ready for more, let's dive in and talk about it. We have focus meetings with all 2,400 of our trainers.
And I've been to a lot of locations, and you guys are awesome. So whoever's listening, wherever you are, I always go when I'm out of town. And I'm just going to say this because I have an opportunity, but Devan's like a student to me, sort of, because he wasn't far from when I started in administration, and watching this grow. And it's amazing to me that I can be in Phoenix or San Diego or wherever across the country and go to a burn, and it is the same. And that I just kudos to you, Morgan, your team, everyone, because to take a mission and spread it across the nation, and then to actually go and see that it really is there, helping change lives of people. And like everyone always says, a community of people that are really there for each other. It's not a competition. It's there. That's very rare. That's very rare. And it's really across the nation. So no matter where you are, get that focus meeting in. It's been a part since day one.
Yeah.
I can prove it since January 16th, 13. It's been a part of this, and it needs to be a part of your world.
Yeah. And I've just really enjoyed our friendship and watching you grow as well. And I always felt like, oh, I get to train the principal. Here we go. All right. Here, I made it now, you guys. Lee, you're incredible. Thank you. I would want to give you the mic one last time here, because you are so inspirational. And I'll let you say some parting words to Burn Nation from your 10, 11 year perspective. But I thank you for supporting us and always being here and being willing to come on and talk and really help people through being vulnerable and sharing your story and your journey. You've always been somebody who I consider a dear friend, and you've been here since literally day one. And it takes a whole community of people to do what we've done. And I know when you go out to that gym in Phoenix and they know that you're from Lake Norman, from HQ, and they all show up early and make sure they're all buttoned up and the blue carpet experience is on point and they don't miss a beat. It's because what I'm saying is true. We are all connected in this thing. And you've always been a member at HQ or Huntersville, Lake Norman, and people, they respect that and they look up to you, and you are also a part of their journey in a really interesting way. So thank you for your support.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Why don't you just go ahead and say, any parting words? There's a lot of people struggling out there, Lee. There's a lot of people struggling. So how have you made it through your struggles?
The trainers are real people and they understand. I think we all know that life is going to go up and down, and that's okay. I mean, they're definitely, you look at the transformation stories and that's amazing. And I love watching and looking at them. But just build your own transformation story. And it's okay that it's not, a downhill line on a scale or whatever. I mean, it's a mountain experience, up and down, up and down. But just know that you can always get back up. And there's a ton of people around you. There's the people in the gym, the members, it's kind of funny at 4:45, we don't talk a lot. We just get it done. Beasley was a little upset at 8:00 today. There was a lot of talking. I was like, this doesn't happen at 4:45. But to just know that it's okay. It's okay if you fall, if, whatever you're going through, whether that's work, personal, your kids go crazy, whatever happens and you fall off for a little bit, there's no shame. We talked a lot about people coming back, and people have left for various reasons and say, hey, Lee, I think I'm coming back. And I'm like, open arms. Like, there's no judgment. There's no whatever, come back. So whatever your story is, just tell it, because there's probably a lot of other people in the same gym that have that same story. So whether you have your Facebook page for your gym or whatever, reach out and be positive for people and be that example. Everyone's story is not going to be the same. And it would, be pretty boring if it was. It'd be great full success, but it wouldn't be reality. So just be proud of yourself. Be proud that you just get there. If you get there one day a week, make it 2 days the next week, and just work your way back up. But never be ashamed of where you are in your journey. Just know that there's someone there, whether that's a trainer, a member, a burn ambassador, that wants to see you do better, and you're worth it.
I love that. It's beautiful. You want to take us out? 2 claps?
Yes. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.